September got off to a flying start as the Rangers stole a big run and held on to win. Tonight's starting pitcher, Cole Hamels, came to Texas for moments just like this. Every outing down the stretch is important for his new team, and Hamels loves the big game spotlight. The Rangers and Padres are just moments away on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Uverse TV. Well, another gorgeous evening here in the San Diego area, Southern California. Petco Park is the venue as the Rangers and the San Diego Padres get set to wrap up this three-game series. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Graves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us for this Wednesday night of Rangers baseball. Rangers got back in the win column last night, and they will send their ace to the mound tonight. That would be the local boy, Cole Hamels.
You know, Buzz, I think there's a little bit of an adjustment for Cole coming to a new team in a new league, but he's had 5 starts, and it seems like everyone's gotten a little bit better. The last 2 have been terrific, especially his last start. In his last start, he went 8 innings, gave up a couple of hits, only gave up 1 run, and struck out 10. So he's right on track to throwing the ball the way you would expect him to, coming back home to San Diego looking for a big game tonight.
Oh, a laid-back Southern California native, Cole Hamels, well, you get him on game day, and look out. He is as tough a competitor as anybody you'll want to run into, and the Padres have found that out as they've had very little luck against him. Elvis Andrews, who led the ball club last night, will be out there again this evening. Rangers and Padres coming up from Petco Park. We'll have more right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. By your Texas Ford dealers. The best deals are happening now only at your Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T Uverse TV. Uverse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. A gorgeous evening here in Southern California. The sun's setting out over San Diego Bay and Coronado Island. Before we get things underway here tonight, let's send it down to the field and check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, as you mentioned, Cole Hamels is a San Diego native. He says pitching here, not that big a deal to him anymore. And, you know, this time around, I may believe it because he's also trying to still get accustomed to his new teammates.
Learn about the fact that you have to communicate a little bit more with a newer catcher. But you start to build and develop a good relationship and a routine. And I think that's kind of the exciting part, is to really get to know your catcher a little bit better, and he gets to know your personality, and then we get to have fun with it, because then we're kind of, not really finishing each other's sentences, but we eventually will kind of almost get that way when we're out on the mound, and that's the fun part about baseball.
And it's fun for the catchers, too. Chris Jimenez, who will catch him tonight, says he spent 4 innings just picking Cole's brain on Monday night here in the dugout. He's getting to know him even as Hamels gets to know Chris. We'll get to the rest of the starting lineup and the first pitch of Game 3 with the Padres next on Fox.
Delano DeShields will lead off for the Rangers. Shin-Soo Choo again will bat second. Prince Fielder will bat third. Might be getting hot. Hit a 2-run homer last night in the first inning to dead center field. Adrian Beltre bats fourth. Rougned Odor, a .349 hitter in his last 24 ball games, will bat fifth. Elvis had the sacrifice fly that tied the game, had the single that plated the go-ahead run in last night's game. Joey Gallo will play left field. He gets the start tonight and bats seventh. Chris Jimenez is the catcher, batting eighth. And, of course, the pitcher will bat ninth, and that's Cole Hamels.
Yeah, that lineup put forward by Jeff Bannister tonight. Ian Kennedy will be the opposition, the 30-year-old right-hander. Fastball, curveball, and changeup. He has excellent stuff, and he has been pitching very well of late. The Rangers, however, will try and draw on their experience against him when they faced him down in Arlington in July. Roughed him up pretty good, and Rangers should have some confidence on how he is going to work to them, and confidence that they've had success against Kennedy in the very recent past. Kennedy out of Southern California. He was born and raised in the Huntington Beach area, and he went to the University of Southern California, a 2-time All-American And we'll take a look at the Padre defense behind Ian Kennedy here tonight. Outfield of Upton, Jankowski, and Kemp, same as it has been the first 2 ball games. San Diego Padres 8th in the National League with a .985 fielding percentage. Wallace, the start at first base tonight. Jerko at second. Barmas short. Spangenberg moves over to third. And Austin Hedges is catching, or Matt Hedges is catching, I should say. It was a tough night last night on the Padres. They lost 3 players in 1 inning, basically. Lost Yonder Alonso, their first baseman, to back spasms. They lost Sean Kelly to an arm injury, and they also lost their catcher, Derek Norris, to what appears to be a shoulder separation. Delino to Shields at 263 with the average take strike 1. We are underway. And Kennedy back to the plate. 0-2. There's Derek Norris. Well, that looked like a terrible injury. Apparently it wasn't as bad as it looked, fortunately for Derek Norris and the Padres. The slight dislocation and hyperextension of the elbow also. And on 3 pitches, Delino to Shields is gone swinging. 1 out.
It's one of those at bats you say to yourself, man, I wish I swung at one of the 2 fastballs I saw so I didn't have to contend with the 3rd pitch, which was an excellent slider down and away.
Oh, 1 away. Shin-Soo Choo now will step in to face Kennedy. Choo, a 3-hit night last night, up to 249. That's as high as his average has been this entire year. He has done a lot of work to get that average up to nearly 250 as he takes strike 1. Choo 0 for 6 lifetime against Kennedy. Choo with 16 home runs. He has driven in 60. Both those marks 3rd on the Ranger Club. And Kennedy able to snag that 1 hopper. 2 gone. No, a strikeout and a comebacker. Base is empty for Prince Fielder. Rangers come in at 69 and 62 for the year. They are trailing the Houston Astros at the start of play tonight by 3 full games. And Jeff Bannister's club still with that 1-game advantage on the second wild card position. They are a game ahead of the Minnesota Twins at the start of play tonight. Fielder hack at that first fastball. 0-1. Prince 15 at bats against Kennedy, including the postseason. He is 5 for 15. Those are the regular season numbers. 3 for 9 with a couple of home runs. The 0-1 pitch coming. 1 ball and 1 strike. Prince with his 18th home run of the year last night. That is tied with Mitch Moreland for the tops on the ball club. 73 runs driven in, the most by a Ranger. Two balls and a strike. Tom, we remarked last night about it looked like Prince was doing some things the last couple of games with the bat we haven't seen him do in a while. And turning around some pretty good fastballs.
Yeah, he ripped one in the first game to right center field for a double, and then the home run last night on good fastballs. And last night it was up and in, which I think is a good sign for Prince, being able to rip that ball. There it is, up and in. Let that ball 410, 15 feet. A lot of those balls have been going to left field, and a lot of them have been caught around the warning track. So maybe a little adjustment and the ability to pull that with authority, a little more with authority, just what he's looking for.
And Prince draws a walk here. He is aboard with 2 outs for Adrian Beltre. That home run, by the way, our AT&T Uverse rewind for you tonight. No. Adrian Beltre steps in. Beltre at 273. 13 home runs, 45 driven in, 3 out of 7 with a home run against Kennedy. Kennedy, an even 6-footer, goes about 200 pounds, and fires strike 1 to Beltre. Adrian, over his last 10 ball games, has gone 14 for 36. It's that 389 mark there with those 2 home runs, 7 RBI. Rangers would love to see Adrian stay hot and get Fielder hot at the same time. And the Rangers have put up some pretty good numbers. They're second in the American League in runs scored since the All-Star break, and that's without Fielder being hot along with Beltre. Prince suffered through a month of August and saw him hit right around 240. If he gets turned back up to where he was before, look out. Rangers could really do some damage. And coming down the stretch in September, that would be a big plus. 0-2 to Adrian.
Well, he threw that ball exactly where he wanted to, probably hoping if it was that far out of the strike zone, he might get a swing and a miss, but Adrian hung tough, fouled it off.
He obviously hasn't watched any tape of Adrian lately.
Yeah, it's got to be maybe 6 inches higher than that to even
right.
think about getting a swing and a miss at it.
0-2. Fielder at first, a very modest lead. And another foul off to the right. Beltre 2 out of 8 in the first couple of games of the series. Rangers playing game number 3 of what is going to be a 10-game road trip. Finish up here tonight, an off day tomorrow, and then take on the Angels over the weekend. Then move all the way up the West Coast to Seattle, taking on the Mariners for 4, beginning on Labor Day Monday. Just off the outside corner. A ball and 2 strikes. Beltre against the Padres in his career. 134 games. He has driven in almost a run every other game. 20 home runs and a .263 average. 2-2.
Rangers hit a couple of home runs against Kennedy in Texas back in July. He's given up 26 home runs, as tied for the 5th most home runs in the National League.
He hasn't had a start in the last month where he hasn't given up at least 1 home run. That's in the dirt, so Adrian has come all the way back from an 0-2 count to run the count full. And with 2 outs now, Prince Fielder will have the advantage of a running start at first. Beltre trying to extend this first inning. Rougned Odor will follow. Just underway here in San Diego. Top of the first inning. No score so far. Beltre waiting as Kennedy sets. Fielder on the move, the payoff pitch. Line to right, a base hit. That is headed toward the corner. Kemp trying to play the carom. Fielder being waved around third. Here comes Prince. He will score. Beltre to third. And the Rangers lead it 1-0 on Beltre's triple.
That ball got to the wall in a hurry, and then it was very difficult for Kemp to retrieve it. It just kind of hugged the wall. He couldn't get it back. And that's one of those benefits of a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs. The runner is running on the play. And Prince had a head start, was able to come all the way around and score. 2 quick outs, a strikeout, and a tapper back to the mound. Then a walk and a hanging slider right down the middle of the plate. The head of Adrian. Tried to make a pitch, couldn't do it. Went to 3-2. He hung a slider, and the Rangers jump out in front 1-0. Here's what happened. He dropped it.
And the official scorer is going to make that a double, and the error on Kemp to drop the ball. But there will be an RBI for Beltre. The error allowing Beltre to get from second to third. Well, the Rangers out quickly to a 1-0 lead. Beltre with his 46th run driven in. Rougned Odor takes inside. Prince picking him up, laying him down. He gets a head of steam up. He can cover some ground. 1-1 to Odor. Now 1-2.
Curveball by Kennedy.
Odor, a .279 average, 11 home runs, 43 driven in. Rougned still the top hitter since the All-Star break on the Ranger Ball Club. Beltre at third. Kennedy working from the windup. In the dirt. And a nice stop by Hedges. 2-2. Tony Beasley talking with Adrian Beltre down there. Now the 2-2. Got him swinging. Kennedy with a couple of strikeouts in the inning, but the Rangers again with some two-out magic. A run on a hit, they leave one after a half inning. Rangers 1, Padres coming up. Cole Hamels.
Corey Spangenberg gets the start tonight in the leadoff spot. .317 hitter in 14 games since he came off the disabled list. Jed Jerko moves up to the second spot. Matt Kemp, 85 RBIs, tied for third in the National League. He'll hit third. Justin Upton is fourth. Brett Wallace gets the start tonight. He's been hot. Clint Barmas, a .350 career hitter against the Rangers. Austin Hedges is seventh. Ian Kennedy, the pitcher, will bat eighth, and Travis Jankowski, 8 for 17 at Petco, 0 for 15 on the road. He'll bat ninth.
And Cole Hamels going to work against Corey Spangenberg. And the pitch inside to him, 1 ball and 1 strike. Our progressive scouting report for Cole. Perfect setup for him as far as the team he is facing. He's had good success against the Padres and good success in this ballpark. Pitching at home, it has to be a very comfortable feeling for him. He's settled in very nicely to being a Ranger. And the great history in this ballpark doesn't get much better than this for Cole Hamels. 1-2 pitch. That just missed, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Hamels, a 31-year-old who grew up here in the San Diego area. Left-hander into the wind. 2-2 pitch is chopped to the right side. Fielder feeding Hamels covering for out number 1. So Hamels gets Spangenberg. Next will be Jed Jerko. And we'll take a look at the rest of the Ranger defense, brought to you by Brake Check. You saw Fielder at first base handle that ground ball. Odor and Andrews up the middle. Beltre at third. Elvis Andrews, 87 double play started. That's the most in the American League for shortstops. Gallo, his first start since being recalled, in left field. DeShields and Chu round out the outfield. Ball 1 to Jerko. The starts that Cole Hamels has had with the Rangers, it has improved each time out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Earned runs allowed, and so that means tonight should be a shutout, right?
It should be.
Got to keep the symmetry going with that regression. That's going to fall for a base hit. Sounded like Jerko might have cracked his bat, but he gets a single with one out.
One thing we've seen from the Padres in the first two games is they're all swinging the bats pretty well. 1 through 9. They're getting a lot of base runners, finding a lot of holes, getting a lot of base hits. Game last night, Rangers went into the last inning with a 4-run lead and had to hang on. They haven't done much offensively as a team for a season, but right now they're swinging the bats pretty well.
And the other thing
Kemp is the hottest one of them.
Other thing we've noticed, Tom, is they don't waste much time. They're out there hacking at the first good one they see.
Yeah, they do.
They're last in the National League in on-base percentage at an even 300, but you couldn't tell that by the way they're swinging the bats in this series. Here's Matt Kemp. And Kemp last night did all the damage for the Padres. He had 4 RBI, hit his 17th home run of the year. Also had a 2-run double. And he has had pretty good success against Cole Hamels over the years. Kemp 11 for 28. That's a 393 marker. Changeup just never got there as far as Kemp was concerned.
The first pitch was a sinking fastball down and away. Tough pitch for a hitter. Kemp didn't like the call. Next one is a changeup headed in the exact same direction, only a lot slower and with a little more movement. Took it way outside.
See, Kemp brings in a 5-game hitting streak to play here tonight. The 0-2 pitch. Double play ground ball. Elvis to Odor. Back to fielder. 6-4-3. Thank you very much. Hamels gives up a base hit, but the double play takes care of that. 3 up and 3 down is how it ends. 1-0 Rangers after 1. Start things off. It'll be Andrews, Gallo, and Jimenez to face Ian Kennedy. Elvis steps in, hitting at .262 for the year. Talking about him in our pregame little pop-up behind first. And Wallace, the first baseman, makes the catch in fair territory. 1 pitch and 1 away as Elvis pops out. Now Joey Gallo coming up. Folks, it's time for you to now tweet your strongest fan photo. Just use hashtag Southwest Data StrongFan, and you might see yourself on one of our upcoming broadcasts. All this made possible by the good folks at T-Mobile. We'll have the selection for tonight a little bit later on. Well, here's Joey Gallo. Gallo getting the start in just his second game back. And a swinging strike one. Lots been talked about with Joey, the difficulty he had when he went down to AAA. And You remember when he was with the Rangers, when Adrian Beltre first got injured. Gallo had some great moments, hit 5 home runs, and then fell into a slump where he was having trouble making contact. And Rangers then optioned him to AAA, and that's carried over at AAA. And Gallo saying that he tried to make every fix possible right away, and he just got basically confused. He's gone here as Kennedy finds that spot up and in. Our Fox tracker there showing you the hole that Joey Gallo and a lot of left-handed hitters have, up and in.
If you show the strike zone, you're going to see pretty much all 3 of those pitches aimed and executed right in the same part of the strike zone, the upper quadrant in.
That's the big difference between AAA pitching and minor league pitching in general and the big leagues. Is once most big league pitchers find you have a hole someplace, if you're going to swing at it, you might as well get ready because it's coming there. Guys don't miss that spot very much.
Yeah, and really at those, you can take them, but they're strikes.
Chris Jimenez down on the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Jimenez a .261 average. Kennedy back to the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Kennedy, who gave up the 2-out run scoring double to Adrian Beltre in the first, trying to have a 1-2-3 inning here in the second. Chris Jimenez already a new career high in home runs for a season. 3 home runs and 5 RBI in his last 8 ball games, and 3 home runs prior to this year was his career high for a season. Did that in 2009 with Cleveland. Gets fisted, rolls one out to second. Jerko will throw him out, and it is indeed a very quick 1-2-3 inning for Ian Kennedy and the Padres. 1.5 in the books. Rangers by 1. By your Texas Ford dealer. The best deals are happening now only at your Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Now Cole Hamels on a beautiful night here in San Diego. Clear skies, very comfortable temperatures. Hamels gave up a single in the first inning with the double play. Took care of that, so he will work to the middle third of the San Diego order. Justin Upton, Brett Wallace, and Clint Barmas. Upton, a .251 average, but he has 24 home runs and has driven in 72. Trying to bunt, it's popped up. Jimenez can't quite get there in time. Nice try by Chris. Got that mask off in a hurry and had to slide. Otherwise, he would have run through that netting and the wall. Oh, 0-1 now, the count to Upton. Upton, as we told you last night, much different hitter here at home than he was on the road. He's hit 15 of his 24 home runs in this ballpark, and he has hit an even .300 this year. That compares to just a .207 average away from Petco Park. That's out of play, and the count moves to a ball and 2 strikes. There's that breakdown we were talking about. 40 RBI of his 72 in this part. Base hit to center field unless Delino can't get it. It gets by him a little bit, so Upton is going to take an extra base. It'll be a leadoff double. Looked like Delino had a shot right at the tail end, but just couldn't keep the ball in front of him.
Yeah, it looked like Upton fought this fastball off. It jammed him a little bit, which is why it didn't carry far enough for Delino to catch it. And I think Delino, if he had to do that over again, would have just stayed back and caught it on a hop. He never really came close to catching that ball. It's 3 or 4 feet in front of him. Nice aggressive try, but lead off an inning, you'd probably rather keep the double play in order and make sure you catch it on a hop and don't let it get by you.
Now here's Brett Wallace. And he tries to pull that ball to the right side, fouls it off, 0-1. Wallace, 7 consecutive hits. He has a walk mixed in there. 3 for 3 last night. Walked his last time up. And the first 5 of those 7 consecutive hits were as a pinch hitter. Hamels back to him. Good fastball on the inside part. 0-2 to Wallace. How about the last 10 games? An .818 average for Brett Wallace. 9 for 11 with a home run and 5 driven in.
Yeah, it's not like he's played a couple of games and gotten 3 or 4 at bats. Those are sporadic at bats, yeah. Pinch hitting for the most part. Which generally makes it even tougher.
Got him swinging.
What a well-located pitch. Man.
Good job by Cole Hamels. Not only did he strike out Wallace, he prevented him from being able to pull the ball to the right side if he made contact.
A hard sinker down and in. Swung right over the top of it. And Wallace right now is the kind of guy you've got to make good pitches because he's swinging a great bat right now.
Well, first strikeout for the Ranger left-hander. Now Hamels will face Clint Barmas. Barmas is a guy that Hamels has had difficulty with over the years. He pumps in strike 1 here. .254 average overall, but against Cole Hamels, 4 for 11. A .364 mark with a home run. Up to the second. Hamels checks him. Cole getting out in front of all the hitters he has faced so far this evening. Barmas, the 6th hitter he's faced. And this is kind of a progression. You know, we saw that regression as far as the runs given up each outing for Cole Hamels. And his aggressiveness in the strike zone has increased each time. Boy, he sawed off Barmas there. 2 gone.
He went right after him with fastballs. 3 straight fastballs. 94, 94, and 95. And then just knocked the bat right out of his hand with a good fastball up and in. Right where he tried to throw it. Talk about sounds a lot, Buzz. That's a sound that probably is music to your ears.
I love it. Love it. Sound of splitting kindling for the winter.
That's expensive kindling too. Those bats go for about $100 a piece.
That's right. It burns well. No, 2 gone. Here's Austin Hedges, the catcher.
Well, there were days back in the 80s where our budget was figured out to the dollar, not rounded off to the million or to the 100,000. And every time a bat broke, we'd all go, "Oh man, there goes $60. Oh, there goes $70. Extra BP. Let's put a couple guys in the outfield seats and throw the balls back."
Elvis charging and on to first. That'll do it. So Cole Hamels able to work around the leadoff double to Justin Upton. 1 left aboard after 2. Rangers by 1. The ballpark against the division rival Houston Astros. You get 2 upper box or upper reserve seats are available for just $14 using the online coupon code Lone Star. Go to TexasRangers.com. Get your seats before they are gone. A big series coming up with the Astros on the next homestand. Ian Kennedy going to work. Cole Hamels, his counterpart, takes strike 1. Hamels this year 6 for 39. That's a 154 average. Strikes out about a third of the time. Up the middle. Gurko can't get it into center field. Hamels has a base hit. Well, Giovanni Gallardo had a double last night.
Our pitchers can hit.
Yeah, they can. Hamels the leadoff single.
Hit a hanging curveball. Thank you very much.
Ian Kennedy might be second guessing himself.
Kennedy's thrown about 6 or 7 curveballs. That's the only one that's hung up there. But he took advantage of it. He hit it.
Yep. So Hamels at first. Nobody out. Here's Delino to Shields. Butts him and pops it up. Right back to Kennedy. That is out number 1. Fastball from Kennedy working its way in. Kind of jammed Delino to Shields. And he got the pop-up.
Yeah, he might have ended up with a sacrifice on that, but he wasn't going to get a base hit. Spangenberg was halfway to home plate. And the question was, if he bunted it to third, would Spangenberg get it quickly enough to get the out at second base? Might have been able to.
Chu slowly hit, ground ball to second. Gurko gets Hamels at second base, so the force play removes the Ranger pitcher. Jew at first with 2 outs. Prince Fielder coming up before he steps in. Let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. The Rangers wouldn't mind a little help from Seattle. Seattle defeated Houston last night, allowed the Rangers to pick up a full game. Our DirecTV standings show you that American League West race as it stands at the moment. Houston already surpassing last year's win total. One of 4 teams that have done that. Rangers in the same boat. They are 3 games back. The Angels 3 games behind the Rangers. Fielder pops the first pitch back and out of play. 0-2 to Prince. Fielder drew a walk and came all the way around to score on an Adrian Beltre double in that first inning. And average at .317. That is 4th in the American League. And Kennedy goes up the ladder, and Fielder couldn't reach it. No runs, a hit, and 1 man left for the Rangers, who are after 2.5. Rangers 1, and the Padres nothing. Out and find out where John Radigan is. He's somewhere out here.
Guys, I found a unique spot out here in straightaway center field. You can't really see it, but it's a sand pit for the kids to play and maybe even build a sand castle. I'm not really dressed for it, but I love sand castles. Let's see what I can come up with.
We'll check back with John. See how that construction project's going. I told you he was somewhere around here. You never know what you're going to find at the ballpark. Ian Kennedy leading things off. He slaps one out of play. And Hamels now with the advantage in the count. 0-2. Kennedy 4 for 35 this year. That's a 114 average. His strikeout rate about 50%. Cole with the 0-2 pitch. Cole Hamels, that's just his 26th pitch of the night. He has been economical. He's had 1 strikeout. He's given up 2 hits, had a double play that helped things out back in the first. 1 ball, 2 strikes. check swing. That cutter down and into Kennedy.
Well, Kennedy did a pretty nice job of stopping his bat on that one.
Uh-oh. Stopping the swing and getting the back knee out of the way.
Might have popped his rib cage trying to do it, though.
Got him swinging there. A second strikeout of the night for Cole Hamels. One away. And Travis Jankowski coming up. Folks, on Wednesday, September the 16th, come on out to the ballpark and red out the ballpark. Wear your red in pivotal AL West showdown with the Houston Astros. It's also one of the last 2 chances this season to enjoy Dollar Hot Dog Night. Don't wait to get your tickets for this important matchup. The Rangers and the Astros, and you and your Dollar Hot Dogs. TexasRangers.com, 972 Rangers for your tickets. Breaking ball to Jankowski. Pushes him back and catches the outer part of the plate for strike 1. Jankowski hitting .250. No home runs, 3 driven in. Been impressed with this young man, how quick he is. He is very, very fast. Plays center field very well, but boy, he can motor on the bases too. And Jankowski, 3 out of 8 in this series. Hanging tough as he fouls that bat. Jankowski has hit in all the games that he's played here at Petco Park. This is his 6th ball game. He's gone 8 for 17 here at home, and on the road he's 0 for 15.
I'll just leave him at home.
Yeah, exactly. But he hadn't faced Cole Hamels yet. Hamels gets his 3rd strikeout, 2nd in a row. So 2 gone, back to the top of the order.
There's that same pitch. That's the one that got Brett Wallace. Good fastball, down and in. The exact location Cole wanted with the movement that he wanted.
Corey Spangenberg now, the leadoff hitter, will step back in. Spangenberg grounded out to Prince Fielder as he led the game off for the Padres. Odor on the first base. That'll do it. 3 up, 3 down, a couple of strikeouts. 6 in a row now set down by Cole Hamels. After 3, the Rangers leading 1-0. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. Well, the Rangers come to bat here in the top of the 4th inning, leading 1-0. Adrian Beltre responsible for that run of the ball game in the 1st inning as he doubled home Prince Fielder. Adrian, 46 RBI now, and he has that batting average up to 274. Beltre, Odor, and Andrews, the first three to face Ian Kennedy. A ball and a strike.
Well, Kennedy started out the season in his first 8 starts. He was 2-5. His ERA was 7.15. That's a month and a half into the season. Since that time, 16 starts. His ERA has been 2.63. Terrible start, but been pitching great. Opponents have only hit under 230 against him over his last 16 starts. He doesn't have a winning record during that time, probably because they haven't scored many runs for him.
Right.
But he's pitching great.
Out of play, 2-2. Yeah, Kennedy was bothered early in the year. As a matter of fact, he spent some time on the disabled list. He had a hamstring problem. And apparently, from what people were saying anyway, it took him a while to get over that. The effects of it lingered on. And said once he got that healed up, he started to pitch better. And I guess we're seeing the results of it now. He's gotten things turned back around pretty well. Bobbled it short. The throw gets Beltre. Barma's able to recover in time to get Adrian one away. Rudin Odor is next.
Kennedy had a solid season last year. He was 13-13, a good ERA. Struck out 207 batters in 201 innings, so more than a strikeout per inning. Went to your alma mater, Buzz.
Yep.
#1 draft choice way back when by the Yankees. He had a year in 2011 with Arizona. He went 21-4 with an ERA under 3. So the fact that he's pitching well is not a surprise. He's been a good pitcher.
Boy, Rudin rips that one by Wallace at first. Odor going for 2. Here comes the throw by Kemp to slide. He is safe. A hustle double for Rudin Odor.
Rudin swung and missed at a fastball for strike 3 the first time up, and it's almost like he went up there and said, "Not this time," because he was ready this time. Looked like a changeup maybe this time out over the plate, and he just ripped it past the first baseman, Brett Wallace. And Kemp really didn't do anything wrong. Rudin just hustled and beat it.
Yep.
Kemp went over, caught it, threw it. Kemp's got a solid arm. Had a couple of great throws last night, and there's a nice throw there. Rudin just beat it.
Well, the third Ranger hit of the night, the second 2-bagger they've had. Beltre in the first. Now Odor here in the fourth. 1 out. Here's Elvis. Hedges doing a nice job of blocking that pitch in the dirt. Odor putting that mitt, that sliding mitt on to protect that finger. Might have seen him make kind of a soft throw that finished off the double play in the first inning. He thought, wait a minute, what's going on? He went in and had his finger retaped between innings, and that may have been the reason. 2-0 to Elvis. Elvis popped out to first, his first time up. Andrews, a 4-game hitting streak coming into play tonight. 2-1.
Got some Ranger fans here tonight. A lot of them, as a matter of fact, but some we can give a shout out to are Jimmy and Judy Finney from Howe, Texas, and Gerald and Barbara Ainsworth from Van Alstyne. I don't think I'd walk anywhere in the hotel or around town without bumping into Ranger fans.
Yeah.
Saw them at breakfast, saw them at lunch. They're everywhere.
2 balls, 2 strikes to count. Talk around the ball club about Elvis's steal last night. You know, Tom, you and I were talking about the first time either one of us has seen a stolen base of home on a right-handed pitcher work from the stretch. And I tried to ask a few people today if they'd ever seen it. Nope, nobody had. Here it is with Quackenbush. Elvis coming down, and Quackenbush never looked up. Now he did.
Well, we were trying to figure out, Buzz, after the game, why his peripheral vision wouldn't have allowed him to see something moving in front of him.
Yeah.
He's got his glove in front of his eyes. He couldn't see anything. Well, there's some good pitching because Elvis is swinging it back very well, and he couldn't pull the trigger on a fastball and then got fooled by a changeup. Very nice pitching right there.
Now Kennedy with his 5th strikeout of the night. 2 away here in the 4th. And Joey Gallo steps in.
I'm Joey. I think I'm going to be looking for that fastball up and in right here. Saw 3 of them the first time up.
4. That's just up. Well, you know, the bad part, he can look for it, but if Kennedy executes, I'm not sure there's much he can do with it.
No,
because of his swing path.
There's going to have to be an adjustment.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's an adjustment you make during the game, but at some point in time, Joey's going to have to make some kind of an adjustment on that high fastball.
0-1. 2 in just about the identical spot. You remember the Fox tracker the first time up, we showed you 3 pitches that were within 2 or 3 inches of each other, all up and in. These 2 pitches have been up.
Yeah.
The middle of the plate.
Those are middle of the plate. The other ones were inside corner, which is tougher.
I think Kennedy was trying to get those pitches in a little bit more and probably just left them out there. See where the 0-2 pitch goes. Breaking ball and throws it. Well, Gallo caught looking. 6 strikeouts for Kennedy. He works around the 1-out double by Odor. 1 left for the Rangers. 1-0 Texas. And Utah. And Dave Wannstedt had a chance to sit down with Jim Harbaugh, the new Mexican coach.
What is a Michigan man in your mind? Seriously, I mean, what if you were to describe one in a sentence or two? What would it be? What was Coach talking about?
Well, I mean, he's it's somebody that's for us. You know, I mean, you talk about it's us versus them a lot of times in competitive sports, and you know, who's the us? You know, it's anybody that's for us, wants to see us do well. Who's the them? You know, anybody that doesn't want to see us do well. You know, that's against us.
Well, the kickoff tomorrow night, and starting off the bottom of the 4th inning, Jed Jerko reaches out and pokes one through the hole on the left side for a leadoff single. Jerko's 2 for 2. Pair of singles for the Padres second baseman tonight. He is aboard to start the 4th. Now Matt Kemp coming up. Now the hits are even at 3. Rangers with the run in the 1st inning. Matt Kemp in the 1st, grounded into a double play. Rangers would love a repeat here in the 4th. Hamels to the plate and misses high and away. Kemp, one of several huge additions for the Padres in the offseason. Boy, they made a splash and then some. They had a full-out cannonball going with the splash they made. A.J. Preller and his first foray into being the general manager, and he really opened some eyes. Made a few of them weep when it didn't work out as well as they thought it would, but Kemp certainly has done his best to make it work out, and so has Justin Upton. And that pitch outside, 3 balls and no strikes is Hamill.
Not much doubt what he's trying to do. He's trying to get him to swing at that outside pitch and hit another ground ball to shortstop. Kemp's laying off it, though.
For Cole Hamels, his first 3-ball count of the night. And he misses outside, 4 straight out there, and the free pass puts runners at first and second for Justin Upton. You remember Cole Hamels last time out against Toronto got into that one rut that had 3 walks in succession, and was able to survive that. Let's hope that he doesn't have a similar recurrence here tonight. Justin Upton hit a sinking line drive to center that got by Delano DeShields for a double. That was leading off the second. 0-1. Upton now 2 out of 9 in the series, batting average at .253. Rangers positioning the infield a couple of steps around to the left. Good fastball, got in on his fist. 0-2.
That's a great combination. Change up, he's out in front of it. Fastball up and in. A little bit late on it.
Well, Hamels looking for a ground ball at a middle infielder would be great. Strikeout would be good too. You get a man on second like this with nobody out. You'd love for him to not put the ball in play with authority any place. Upton able to lay off that off-speed pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Upton in his last 5 ball games, just 2 for 18. Remember, overall against Hamels, he's hit .281 in his career. Cole trying to get a big out here with 2 on and nobody out. Call, strike 3. Hamels got the inside corner and got the call from Trip Gibson, the home plate umpire. 1 big out.
He did what he was trying to do, trying to cut that fastball inside. Upton thought it was a little inside. Trip Gibson gave that call to Cole Hamels.
Yeah, we talked about it last night, and with Bobby Wilson behind the plate, and tonight Chris Jimenez really sticking that ball when they catch the pitch on the corner like that, they stick it right there and give the umpire a real good look at it. Don't try to jerk it back into the strike zone or anything else. Red Wallace able to check his swing. 1 ball and no strikes. Wallace a strikeout. His first time that he faced Hamels. He's got Jerko at second, Matt Kemp at first. 1-1. Hamels has been able to tie Wallace up with that fastball running off the plate inside pretty well.
Yep.
Cole studying the signs from Jimenez. Now the 1-1 pitch.
Just pounded him right in there.
Yep.
He didn't give in to Kemp. He walked Kemp through 4 pitches just outside off the corner. These pitches are in the exact same part of the home plate area, but they're inside, of course, to a left-hand hitter, not outside to a right-hand hitter. But he's pounding them in there, one right after the other.
A ball and 2 strikes.
You're well aware of that as a hitter, but also in the back of your mind, you know he's got a curveball, you know he's got a cutter, and there's another side of the plate too.
like right out there.
Yeah, like out there.
2-2. Hamels getting ready to unload his 49th pitch of the night. Got him swinging.
Boy, that's getting worked over right there.
Back-to-back strikeouts after 2 were on and nobody out.
Fastball's in, cutter or slider away, and then changeup. Well, those are 2 tough at bats for Wallace. He just saw some great pitches from a very good pitcher.
5 strikeouts now for Hamels. Clint Barmas grounded to short his first time. This has been a tough matchup for Hamels. Pop foul and out of play. Not sure how many times Barmas has faced Hamels when he's throwing the ball like this, and this is pretty good. Looks like he has a pretty good idea. Cole has a pretty good idea with all of his pitches what he wants to do with them, and his execution has been outstanding. Little looping drive, a fair ball down the right field line. Jerko will score. Kemp being waved around. The relay throw, the throw is going to third. In to score is Kemp. Barmas with an opposite field double. And the Padres have taken a 2-1 lead.
Trying to throw him a fastball in. He gets it in. Jammed him a little bit, but he fought it off and found a hole just inside the foul line, down the right field line.
A 2-1 San Diego now as the Padres have gotten to Cole for a couple of runs. Austin Hedges takes high for ball 1. Hedges, a ground ball to short, his first time. Clint Barmas continuing to be a thorn in the side of Cole Hamels. Gallo backing up, reaches up, and hauls in the shot off the bat of Austin Hedges. Well, that'll do it. Padres are out, but they scored twice on 2 hits and strand 1 after 4. 2-1 San Diego. The Rangers face the Astros in a crucial AL West showdown. And we need your help to red out the ballpark. All red player t-shirts are 20% off now through September 17th at all Rangers retail locations. So go out and get yours today. Chris Jimenez will start things off for the Rangers here in the bottom of the fifth. Rangers now, or top of the fifth. Rangers now find themselves trailing 2-1. Padres struck for 2 in the fourth. Jimenez, ground ball to second, his first time. Ian Kennedy pumps in strike one. It'll be Jimenez, Cole Hamels, and Delino DeShields here in the Ranger fifth. One the count. And Kennedy, 56 pitches thus far and 40 strikes, just 16 balls. That ball is hit high in the air to deep left center field. Upton is going back. He's at the wall. Goodbye. Chris Jimenez with his 5th home run of the year. And we have a brand new ball game. It is 2-2.
Tell you what, Chris is a force at bat right now. He's a threat to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Seems like he does it every other time he gets the opportunity to play. Fastball right down the middle of the plate. Against the guy, remember, who has given up coming into the game 26 home runs. That's number 27. So he's not afraid to throw his fastball and challenge you with it right down the middle of the plate. And that time he didn't get away with it.
Right next to the Padre bullpen, and that is big man's territory out there.
A random note on Kennedy. Since ERAs were recorded, I have no idea what year that was, but since they were recorded in both leagues, he's the only pitcher ever to allow a home run in 11 or more consecutive games. Drops a nice curveball in right there. 11 or more consecutive games and maintain an ERA over that time less than 3. Now, you talk about a random stat, but at least 11 games, at least a home run in every game, and during that time his ERA was under 3. So probably a lot of solo shots and not much other than that.
Now, 1 out after the strikeout of Hamels. Here's Delino DeShields. 1 ball, no strikes. Delino struck out, leading the game off. Last time up in the third, he tried to bunt and popped it up. So 0 for 2 tonight. And batting average at .261. Delino, a couple of home runs. 28 RBI. There's a base hit to left center. That is going to be extra bases. DeShields turning it on, going around first, and he's not going to stop at second. The ball bobbled. He is going into third and in with a slide.
You can see that ball buzz. First you say there's a base hit. Then you see it headed to the gap and you go, that's a double. Then you think if he doesn't field it cleanly, it's going to be a triple, and that's exactly what it turned out to be. Most runners, it's going to be a double. Doesn't matter what happens out there, but not with him. Any little thing that happens against the defense, it's an extra base when you can run like this.
That'll be a DeShields double, and the error on Jankowski for dropping the ball. In any event, DeShields at third now with 1 out. Shin-Soo Choo will come up, and the infield pulled all the way in.
The Rangers had a couple of chances last night and didn't cash in this situation. Man on third base in less than 2 outs. Had a couple where they did. Those were both times when Elvis was hitting. Sacrifice fly and a base hit with the bases loaded.
Choo has grounded out twice tonight.
Although the bases loaded hit was with 2 outs, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
The sac fly obviously was with 1 out.
Yeah, the bases loaded hit was the only hit the Rangers had with runners in scoring position last night. They were 1 for 11. 1-1 pitch. Choo with 60 runs driven in. He has number 61 just 90 feet away in the person of Delino DeShields. Kennedy from the line. Choo able to lay off the breaking ball. It's 3-1 now. So Chu batting second of the Ranger order. He'll be followed by Prince Fielder. Shin-Soo is 6 RBI in his last 8 ball games. Delino coming down the line from third. Pretty good pitch by Kennedy. Got it in on Chu's fists. Kennedy with 7 strikeouts tonight, but he gave up the leadoff home run here in the 5th inning to Chris Jimenez. It's a 2-2 ball game. 2/3 of the time, Chu has gotten that runner home. Still a 3-2 count. Kennedy reading the signs. And Chu waiting. Tried the backdoor hook and couldn't get it to come in. First and third now with 1 out. Prince Fielder coming up, and let's see if we can find out how John Radigan's doing out there.
I bet he's eating something.
Oh, guys, just putting the finishing touches on my creation. How'd that turn out? Not bad for just a quick whip it together. I would have done something that said Texas Rangers, but we're leaving after the game. I was afraid they'd knock it down, so I was going to leave this for him.
Nice job, John. Nice job.
Very, very good, John. You didn't know he was that artistic, did you? That's pretty impressive. Just something he whipped up on the spur of the moment. Now, first and third, here's Prince. Infield now back at double play depth. 0-1 to Fielder. Prince a walk and a run scored back in the first. Last time up in the third, he went down swinging. Got DeShields at third, Chu at first. Kennedy checking them as he comes set. Little cue shot out to short. That is out number 2 as Barmas takes care of it. And Adrian Beltre now will come up. Well, Prince mishitting this one right off the end of the bat. Edges out to talk to Ian Kennedy. Beltre doubled. Had Fielder score in the first inning. Last time up, a ground ball to short. Now Beltre tired of waiting, so he backs out. Adrian at .274 with a batting average. He has now had 16 RBI in his last 18 games. Oh, and he got one there that he wanted to unload on. And Ian Kennedy's reaction was that he got away with something.
The Kennedy's made a lot of good pitches, but he's also grooved a few too. Gotten away with most of them. Didn't get away with the one to Chris Jimenez, though.
No balls and a strike to Beltre. One and one. Mentioned the 16 RBI in the last 18 games for Adrian. That was after having just 5 RBI in the previous 22 games. Beltre taking a lot upon himself, as he always does, right in the middle of the order. And he got it going in the month of August. 2-1. Beltre stepping back in. Ian Kennedy getting set for his 22nd pitch of this inning. Line drive picked off the shoe tops by Barmas on to first, and Beltre's retired. The Rangers are gone, but Chris Jimenez leadoff home run gets the Rangers even. They get a run on 2 hits and a lead 2. Halfway through the ball game, Rangers 2, Padres 2. Tickets are now available. You can catch all the action at Globe Life Park next season. Plus, if you place a deposit now, you can guarantee a seat for any 2015 postseason games. Visit TexasRangers.com/seasons to place your deposit today. And the 2-2 ball game. Cole Hamels dealing to his counterpart, Ian Kennedy. And the pitch fouled away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kennedy, a strikeout as he led off the 3rd inning. Cole Hamels tonight, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's allowed 2 runs on 4 hits through the first 4 innings. 2-1. Hamels back to the plate. 2-2. Cole Hamels winning each of his last 2 starts for the Rangers. First coming over at the trade deadline along with Jake Diekman. There's a strikeout. His 6th of the night. No one away here in the 5th inning, and before we tell you about Travis Jankowski, let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. The Mariners trying to help the Rangers out. Jankowski trying to bunt his way aboard and bunts it foul for strike 1. Jankowski struck out the first time he faced Hamels tonight. We're talking about Cole, the 5 starts that he had made for the Rangers. First one against the Giants back on the 1st of August, and twice against Seattle in the ensuing starts. Last 2 times out, Detroit and Baltimore. He has really pitched well. He worked 6 innings against the Tigers and then 8 against the Orioles. Each time showing more and more command of the strike zone, more and more like Cole Hamels that we had seen in the past. And Cole sounded much more comfortable with what he was doing. Not that he's exactly where he wants to be as far as command and everything else. I'm not sure a guy of his stature is ever completely satisfied with any outing, but sounds like he's getting to the point where it's, yeah, that's more like it.
Yeah, and if you look tonight, it looks like he's getting there, Buzz. He's made a lot of pretty good pitches and 43 strikes at 19 balls. Barmas fought off an inside fastball for his base hit.
Pitch just outside of Jankowski. The count has gone full. Jankowski batting ninth. He'll be followed by Corey Spangenberg. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. Strikeout number 7 for Cole Hamels. Take a look at our Kubota power stat tonight, talking about Cole Hamels. And in this ballpark, 6 starts prior to tonight, 5-0 with a 1.47 ERA. That's the 4th lowest ERA of any pitcher at Petco Park. This park's been open since 2004. We're talking about 11 years of baseball here at Petco. This will be the 12th year. Spangenberg takes strike 1. Couple of ground balls to the right side for Spangenberg tonight. He's 0 for 2. And he's down in the count, 0-2. Boy, Hamels, when he gets on a roll, he just doesn't take any time between pitches, does he?
I love it.
Yep.
He's ready to throw, boy.
Back and out of play. Spangenberg, a .264 average. Stepping back in, missed some time on the disabled list. Had a left knee problem. Shallow left field, long run in for Gallo. He can't get there. He has to play it on a hop. And Spangenberg aboard with a looping 2-out single.
Pitch down and away. Good pitch right where he wanted it. Spangenberg just made some contact right off the end of the bat.
Well, 5 base hits now for both the Padres and the Rangers. Jed Jerko, stepping in, has 2 of those 5 hits. Both of them singles. He scored a run in the 4th. 0-1 on the foul ball. Jerko with the 2 base hits now, 3 for 5 in his career against Cole Hamels. Also has extended his hitting streak to 5 straight ball games. One ball and 1 strike. For Jed Jerko, you go back over the last 30 ball games since the end of July. He has been a .290 hitter. 22 RBI in those 30 ball games. Seen Jerko in this series get the start at shortstop the first 2 games. He had never started at shortstop as a professional until about 2 weeks ago. On the move is Spangenberg. The throw is not in time. He's in there with the stolen base. Eighth stolen base of the year for Corey Spangenberg.
Strong, accurate throw, just not in time.
We talked glowingly about Chris Jimenez and Bobby Wilson, the job that they have done since the 1st of August. The one area, if you want to call it a blight on that record, is throwing out base runners. Neither one of them has shot down an opposing base stealer yet, and it hasn't all been their fault. They have not been given the opportunity by the pitchers in a lot of situations. For Jimenez, he's now 0 for 9. Now Spangenberg in scoring position. And the pitch to Jerko, that's all the way to the backstop. Well, Spangenberg will head to third. He's there with 2 outs. A wild pitch, uncorked by Cole Hamels. A 2-2 now, the count to Jerko. Got him swinging. Down and away, and Jerko gone on strikes. Threat nullified. No runs, a hit, 1 left. After 5, Rangers 2, Padres 2. Jackpot is $1,600 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Helen Sullivan from Scurry, Texas will win $1,600. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Helen is going to win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. A Rougned Odor to start things off for the Rangers here in the 6th inning. Ian Kennedy drops in a breaking ball for strike 1. Odor doubled his last time up. Hit a bullet into right field. A hustling double for Rougned, so he is 1 out of 2. Foul that straight down. No balls and 2 strikes. Rougned, his last 5 ball games coming into play tonight, had gone 7 for 19. A couple of home runs in that span. And he pops this one up. Barmas, the shortstop, right at the rim of the outfield grass. 1 gone.
They started him out with slow pitches, curveballs, and then a high fastball. Throw that high fastball on the first pitch, Rougned's probably ready to rip it. But after an 0-2 count on slow pitches, wasn't quite ready for it.
Now with Elvis stepping in, good time to take a look at our Ford leaderboard. Career-wise, active player steals of home. And Elvis Andrus has 4 of them in his career. Melvin Upton of the Padres with 3 of them. Elvis, of course, had one last night. That was the first straight steal of home, not involving a double steal, but the first straight steal by a Ranger since 2000. Next pitch to Elvis. In for a strike. Scarborough Green against the Minnesota Twins. Last Ranger to swipe home on a straight steal. That was in May of 2000 for the Rangers. Kennedy with the 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging.
Kennedy's been tough on Elvis. He's given him a good assortment of off-speed pitches, keeping the fastball out of the strike zone. Change-ups, sliders, get ahead, Got him to chase a high fastball.
8 strikeouts now for Ian Kennedy. 2 gone. Joey Gallo has struck out both times that he's faced the Padre right-hander. On pitches in a similar location to that one. Padres going to an overshift with Gallo up there. 3 infielders on the right side of the diamond. That breaking ball off the plate inside. A ball and a strike. Got a good look at the facial expression of Joey Gallo. What must be going through his mind right now as a hitter, Tom?
He knows what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, he knows what's happening, and right now he's just not equipped to prevent it.
Yeah. Kind of a lost feeling.
Yeah.
He's got the hat trick and 9 strikeouts now for Ian Kennedy. 3 up, 3 down. Rangers gone in the 6th. 2-2 the score.
Face the Padres here in the bottom of the 6th inning. People wondering where we wanted to go for food. Believe it or not, we actually chose barbecue for lunch today. And you're thinking, why would you possibly choose barbecue? But they're pretty good looking barbecue. But that's really not the reason we were at the barbecue place today. We didn't go there for the food. It was Kansas City barbecue after all. That's why we went there. Top Gun, the sleazy bar scene from Top Gun, was filmed at this Kansas City barbecue that's very near the team hotel here in San Diego. And all over the place is memorabilia from that movie. I couldn't believe it had been since 1985 that they filmed that movie. I didn't remember it being a sleazy bar scene, but I guess, I believe the sign that on the wall said it was a sleazy bar scene. And then lo and behold, we walked in the bar and there were a bunch of brassieres hanging on the light fixtures. So I guess, in fact,
pretty sleazy.
It was a little more sleazy than I remembered, boys. There you go.
Well, how was the barbecue?
It's Kansas City barbecue, so it's not as good as Texas barbecue, but it was pretty good.
Good.
Sleazy bar scene. That's good. It's appropriate you would have barbecue, though, in the sleazy bar scene. Matt Kemp down on the count, no balls, 2 strikes. And Hamill's trying to get that fastball by him. Kemp able to foul it off. Kemp tonight has grounded into a double play and walked. When he walked in the 4th inning, came around to score on Clinton Barma's 2-run double. Cole Hamels getting ready to make his 77th pitch of the night. Up the middle, right there, Rougned Odor. Kemp got jammed, sounded like he broke his bat.
Yeah.
And Odor takes care of the limp line drive.
Got that one in on his fists. And that one didn't find a hole. Dropped the curveball in for strike one. Got him to miss a changeup. And kind of set up the fastball in. Aware of the other off-speed pitches, not quite quick enough in that at-bat to hit that fastball in that location.
A one away. Here is Justin Upton, who's 1 for 2. Upton doubled in the second, struck out in the 4th inning. Nothing in 1. Justin Upton, the former first overall draft pick in 2005 by the Arizona Diamondbacks. One ball and 1 strike. Cole Hamels to the line, back to the plate. 2-1. Talking earlier about Cole Hamels and the consistency. You know, go back to the last start that he made for the Phillies. It was a no-hitter against the Chicago Cubs in Wrigley Field. Threw 130 pitches, 129. And he hasn't talked about it much, but I've got a feeling that it probably took him a little while to recover from that, as far as the trade had happened right after that, and all the hoopla that surrounded the trade kind of threw him off his schedule. So you know, the no-hitter being a great thing to have happen to you kind of played into the hands of being a little bit inconsistent for a start or two after that. Cole was rebounded very nicely, and I'm sure that he would not give up the no-hitter, and if he could go back and do it all over again. It's something that you file away in your memory banks for the grandkids. 3-2. That's a base hit to left field. Upton able to rip one through the hole. He is aboard with 1 out. Brett Wallace coming out. Folks, a reminder that on Sunday, September the 13th, the Rangers are giving away a T-shirt to commemorate Adrian Beltre's 400th home run. First 15,000 fans, 14 and older, will receive the Beltre shirt. It's sponsored by Snapple and 7-Eleven. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com to see the Rangers take on the A's on the day that you can also get an Adrian Beltre T-shirt. The 6 hits now for the Padres. Upton with his second one is aboard with 1 out. Brett Wallace has struck out both times that he's faced Hamels tonight. On that pitch right there. That one just missed, but that's the first time that Wallace has been able to lay off that pitch off the plate inside. Upton with pretty good speed at first. Hamels checking him. A ground ball through the right side. A base hit. Upton will not stop at second. He's going to third. The throw cut off. A back-to-back singles, and the Padres have runners at the corners for Clint Barmas.
Well, not a hard hit ball, but with the first baseman holding the runner on, you've got a hole to shoot at right there. And there it is.
Wallace, after punching out the first 2 times that he faced Hamels, got into a situation where he could pull that ball and find the hole, and he did that. That sets the stage for Clint Barmas, who had the 2-run double back in the 4th inning. Hamels got inside on him, but Barmas able to inside out the swing and dump it down that right field line for 2 bases. The first pitch down and in for ball 1. The Barmas now 15 runs driven in this year. Currently hitting at 257. Not particularly good with runners in scoring position either, at just 205. That's in the dirt. Gets away very briefly from Chris Jimenez. Wallace had a bad angle to try and determine how far it was away from Chris Jimenez. It went right in line with where Wallace was looking. He couldn't tell exactly how far away that was. He's looking right down the line from first, and depth perception is sometimes a problem when that ball rolls to that area. Upton at third. Wallace still at first. 2 balls, no strikes, the count. And Hamels able to get that changeup in play.
He was just sure he was going to throw him a fastball on that pitch. So he threw him 3 straight. Like a helicopter. Could have swung twice at that ball.
Hamels okays the sign and sets the 2-1 pitch. Instead, is a toss to first.
The Rangers had a shot, man on third base, less than 2 outs in the 5th inning after Delino got to third. They couldn't cash in. San Diego trying to cash in here. Rangers trying to get a double play ball.
That would be good. And they might have it. Odor. And Elvis can't get the handle on it. In to score is Upton. The Padres lead it 3-2, and I'm pretty sure Elvis would have been able to turn it had he been able to get the handle on it coming out of the glove. But he couldn't, and the run is across.
You're looking for the ground ball. It wasn't a simple ground ball for a double play. But I think it was going to be one that Elvis would have turned if he was able to get the ball out of his glove. No problem getting around Wallace at second base. It's just a matter of catching it and firing it back to first.
And you can see the look on Elvis's face. Doggone it. So a 3-2 Padre lead now. The RBI goes to Marmos. He has driven in all 3 runs tonight for San Diego. He is at first with 2 outs. And a towering fly ball off the bat of Austin Hedges. Joey Gallo underneath it, makes the catch. That will do it. San Diego, however, takes the lead. They get a run on 2 hits and leave 1. After 6, 3-2 Padres. Beltre going the other way with an RBI double in the Ranger first inning. Adrian got the run home, and then a shank off the bat of Clint Marmos scored 2. A double into the right field corner put the Padres on top 2-1. Rangers came back though, and Chris Jimenez able to barrel up a fastball and hit it out to left center field. That tied the ball game. And then with runners at the corners and 1 out, Marmos a ground ball to second. It looked like it might be a double play. However, Rangers couldn't turn it. Upton scores the go-ahead run of the Padres with a 3-2 lead as we head to the 7th inning. Chris Jimenez to start things off, and Ian Kennedy drops a breaking ball off the outside corner for ball 1. Jimenez with his 5th home run of the year, leading off the 5th inning. On the outside corner, 1 ball and 1 strike. Ian Kennedy, 88 pitches under his belt, 9 strikeouts through 6 innings. He has walked 2 and has given up the 5 base hits. 2-1. Kennedy just 8-12 on the year, but that ERA coming down almost with each successive outing. Foul back and out of play. Kennedy last month, the month of August, went 2-3, but an ERA of 2.3. Changeup is low, and the count now is full to Jimenez. So Chris trying to get aboard to start this 7th inning. Cole Hamels in the on-deck circle. Payoff pitch on the way. Out of play down the right side. Chris Jimenez now 5 home runs this year. He had a total of 6 in the years prior to this, his big league career. He's just about ready to double his output. Got him swinging a breaking ball on 3-2. Kennedy in double figures now with 10 strikeouts.
You have a pretty good idea watching the game tonight why he strikes out a batter per inning or more in some seasons. Got an effective fastball, good changeup, good slider, and a good curveball. 4 solid pitches.
1 away. Cole Hamels has singled and struck out. 1 out of 2. 1 ball, no strikes. Didn't really want to, but couldn't stop. 1-1. Kennedy back to him. Splashed foul the other way. Hamels has a career average of 173. He has 1 home run in his career, and he has driven in 28. Got him swinging. Kennedy racking up the punch-outs. That's number 11. 2 gone. Delano to Shields coming up.
4 straight.
And for Ian Kennedy, that is a season high now with 11 strikeouts. His career high is a dozen. Delano is 1 for 3. And Kennedy pumping in strike 1. And Kennedy has struck out a dozen 4 different times. Last time, last year, against Miami. 0-1 to the Shields. See that kind of Vulcan grip that he has for that changeup that he will throw. The 0-2 on the way. Got him swinging. He ties his career high 5th time that Ian Kennedy has struck out a dozen in a ball game. He's got 5 in a row. We'll take the stretch with the Padres leading 3-2. Strongest fan photo of the evening. This comes to us from Carol. Carol, thank you very much. Right out there in front of Globe Live Park. We appreciate that. And if you folks would like to submit your photo, just use hashtag Southwest Data StrongFan. Your photo might be selected to be aired during one of our upcoming telecasts, the way that Carol's was here tonight. All this made possible by the good folks at T-Mobile. Now, Ian Kennedy, 7 innings of work tonight, 5 hits, a career-high 12 strikeouts. And Upton batting for him. That is Melvin Upton Jr., and he singles to start the 7th inning. And we saw Upton last night in a pinch hitting role, and he gets the base hit to lead off the bottom of inning number 7. Headed out to the mound as Keone Kela is up and loosening. Cole Hamels now has allowed 8 hits tonight. Cole with 92 pitches under his belt. Inning by inning, the 20 in the 5th inning and the 19 in the 4th inning. Really the only innings that were out of line with the rest. 92 pitches, a very manageable pitch count for Cole Hamels. 8 strikeouts tonight for the Ranger left-hander. He has walked 1, and wouldn't it figure that 1 came around to score. A 1 on, nobody out. And Derek Norris, who apparently can hit with a hyperextended elbow. That was what happened to him last night, that collision at home plate with Adrian Beltre. He's up as a pinch hitter for Travis Jankowski. Norris at 244. And Upton draws a toss over to first. It's good to see Norris back out there. You see the concern on Adrian's face last night after he slid in and knocked the ball loose, and saw that Norris was lying there in pain on the ground, and Adrian went over to look at him, and Adrian's thought was that was a pretty serious injury. He couldn't stand there any longer. He went back to the dugout, but he was very concerned about Norris, and he was glad he was okay after he found out that the extent of the injury wasn't as bad as it initially appeared. Hamels delighting the fans here at Petco, making some tosses to first.
He's got a big lead, Melvin Upton, and he's an excellent base stealer too.
To right center field, Chu on the run. He has a play near the warning track and makes the catch. Upton back to first. Norris driving that ball the opposite alley with authority. Then he comes up empty. 1 gone, back to the top of the order for Corey Spangenberg. Jimenez out to take a little extra time talking to Cole Hamels. Spangenberg, a base hit in 3 trips. This might very well be Cole Hamels' last hitter. Spangenberg trying to take the ball with him on a drag bunt and bunted through it.
I'm not sure where he could possibly have bunted that and gotten a base hit, but going to give it a shot anyway.
And a lot of folks in the infield brass.
A lot of people zeroing in on that potential punt.
Chopper to fielder. He will step on first, and into scoring position now is Upton. He's there with 2 outs. And Jed Jerko coming up. Well, it looks like Jeff Bannister will give Cole Hamels the opportunity to face Jerko. Jerko singled his first 2 times up against Hamels tonight and struck out the last time. That was in the 5th inning. Ranger infield pulled a couple of steps around to the left. The outfield plays me just about straight away. 1 ball, no strikes. Jerko, as we mentioned, now a 5-game hitting streak. He's gone 7 for 20 in those 5 ball games. 2-0. Cole Hamels studying the signs, now sets. Still got plenty left in the tank.
Yep. Still throwing well. Jerko's still taking some good swings. He's had good swings in this series. Much better hitter now than he was earlier in the year.
Pitch number 100 coming up from Cole Hamels. Good changeup to the outside corner. 2-2. Good look right back through the middle of the diamond with Upton at second base. Hit hard but pulled well foul by Jerko. Hamels with a new baseball. Peering in for the signs. A check of Upton. 3-2. Well, Jerko is able to extend this inning. Matt Kemp is waiting to be next. Payoff pitch on the way. Beltre backhands it. Now he's going to tag Upton.
Why make the long throw if I could just tag somebody?
Exactly. And Upton was nice enough to be standing right there. No runs, a hit, 1 left. We go on to the 8th inning here in San Diego. Padres 3, Rangers 2. All right, Dana, thank you very much. Well, we head to the 8th inning, and as we mentioned, Ian Kennedy's night is finished. Joaquin Benoit, former Ranger, on now to take over in the 8th inning. And Benoit, a mainstay of the bullpen out here in San Diego. 58th appearance of the year, 6-4, a 2.10 ERA, and the league just hitting 147 against the 38-year-old right-hander. Melvin Upton Jr. remains in the ball game, takes over in center field. So you have Upton, and Kemp, the law firm, in the outfield. Shin-Soo Choo, the first hitter that Benoit faces. And the pitch down and in for ball one. Choo 0 for 2 tonight. And a walk, also grounded out a couple of times. Benoit originally came up with the Rangers back in 2001. With the Rangers parts of the next 9 years. Joaquin then, after enduring about 2 years missing in action due to injuries, went down to Tampa Bay and then resurrected his career in Detroit. Came over to San Diego prior to last year.
Well, he's had a tremendous career as a late inning setup guy. Had some opportunities to close games. Basically, he's done it with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and a great changeup. He's made himself a lot of money over the last 10 years as a late inning guy. Number of teams, and done a great job for him.
This is outside, 3 balls and a strike to Choo. Oh, Shin-Soo trying to get aboard to start off this 8th inning. Prince Fielder will follow. Benoit to the wind, the 3-1 pitch. Full count. Joaquin originally signed by the Rangers in 1996. 16-year-old. Now the payoff pitch to Choo. Check swing outside, ball 4.
Choo's one of the only guys that's going to be able to lay off that after several straight fastballs, 3-2 count. He throws him a tempting changeup, and Choo laid off it.
Progressive would like to catch you up on the Rangers' upcoming schedule. Finishing up here tonight in San Diego. An off day tomorrow. Then it's into Anaheim to take on the Angels for 3 Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon. Labor Day Monday. An afternoon game in Seattle. First of 4 against the Mariners before coming back home. Here's Prince. 0 for 2 with a walk. Base hit to right field.
Or to third.
Choo heading around to third. And the Rangers have runners at the corners and nobody out. Well, Fielder taking advantage of Fred Wallace holding the runner at first.
Yeah, good job of pulling the ball. It looked like he made a conscious effort to try to pull the ball. A pinch runner for Prince at first base. Rangers earlier in the game had a man on third, less than 2 outs, couldn't get him in. Now they got a man on third and nobody out. Middle of the order coming up.
Ryan Strasburger coming in as a pinch runner for Fielder at first base. Well, first and third, nobody out. Adrian Beltre, 1 for 3 with an RBI double tonight. Padres playing the infield back. Benoit misses outside for ball 1. Beltre, since the double in the first inning, has grounded a short twice. 273 season average. Benoit checking the runners. Popped up. Wallace near the stands. Can't reach it.
Whoa, that was too close for
Back
comfort.
in the first row. If Wallace is able to get over there before the ball comes down and a reach in standing still, he probably has a play on it.
It looked like it. If he was waiting for it, he could have reached in. Yeah, it was barely in the stands. That fan wasn't going to help him out, though.
Now 1-1 the count to Adrian. Strasburger getting his lead from first. Chu down a couple of steps from third. Foul straight back. Adrian Beltre better than 60% of the time getting that run home from third with less than 2 outs. Chu, the tying run, just 90 feet away. Ryan Strasburger, the pinch runner, over there at first. Beltre in his career against Joaquin Benoit, a .273 average. He was 6 for 22. Right-hander sets at the belt. Another split-fingered fastball or changeup, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
However he grips it, but he's got a good changeup. That's hard to lay off it after you've seen all fastballs. Chu did a great job on the 3-2 pitch. I'd say 75% of the left-hand hitters would have swung at that changeup. And Adrian did a nice job laying off that one.
2-2.
Whoa. There's a high one to hit. He just tipped it. Fortunately, the catcher couldn't hold on to it.
That one didn't do a whole lot when it stayed up there.
That one needed to be a little more out over the plate.
So Adrian back in. Benoit with a new ball. Peering in for the sign from Austin Hedges. Another 2-2 is coming. Three and two.
Well, one thing that hasn't changed, he's always been a good pitcher, but he's never been in a hurry.
No, he's not. He is, when he gets somebody on base especially, he really drops the anchor.
He's going to outweight you.
Now Beltre with a full count now. Runners at the corners, 1 out. Rougned Odor will follow Adrian. Rougned in that on-deck circle. Nobody out. Rangers down by a run here in the 8th inning. Benoit, a long look in. Now the right-hander set to go. Strasburger going. 3-2 pitch hit high in the air to deep left center. It's playable for Justin Upton. He makes the catch, tagging at third, coming in to score. Shin-Soo Choo. Adrian Beltre ties the ball game at 3 with the sacrifice fly.
Oh, terrific at bat. He battled everything Benoit had to offer. The slider, the changeup, the fastball, and got the job done. Not sure what that was. Looked like a hanging slider, but whatever it was, it went 340 feet out to left field for a sac fly.
Well, we will start all over again, this time at 3 apiece. Rougned Odor up there now. Strasburger still at first. 1 away. Odor has doubled in 3 trips. He had a pretty good hack at that fastball. It is back and out of play. Odor, just 1 previous appearance against Joaquin Benoit. He is 0 for 1. Average for the season and an even 280. Benoit, check of first. 1-1. Brugnet checking with Tony Beasley down there at third base. Beasley flashing the signs out to both Strasburger at first and Odor at the plate. Inside, 2-1.
He's not going to throw a strike unless he has to. Throwing 17 pitches, 8 balls, 9 strikes. He's putting a lot of thought into every pitch. Put a clock on him, he'd be over the allotted time. I'll tell you that on every pitch.
Yep, no doubt about that. Mark Burley, he's not.
No.
Two and 1. Now 3-1. Odor in the driver's seat. He's hitting 5th in the order. Elvis Andrus, the Rangers shortstop, will be next. Benoit, a long look in as Strasburger gets a pretty good lead at first. Foul back. Right below us, and we had an error right in front of us. Guys down below us now arguing about who the error should be charged to. 3-2.
Well, the runner's probably going to be on the move right here. Outfield's playing pretty deep, so if you hit it in the gap and they have to run for it, they'd have a shot.
And Strasburger, of course, very good speed at first. Has a pretty good lead as Benoit sets and checks it. Going at first, the pitch fouled away. We'll reset and try it again. Doesn't look like with Benoit on the mound that Strasburger, even if there's a strikeout by Odor, that Strasburger would have any trouble swiping second. Benoit takes an awful long time to unload the ball to home plate.
Yeah, I don't think he's too worried about the runner. But if he gets a great jump, again, if that ball's hitting the gap somewhere, he might be able to come all the way around to score, even if they do cut it off.
Again, the payoff pitch from Benoit. And again, a foul ball. Well, Strasburger retracing his steps. Benoit about ready to throw his 22nd pitch of this inning. Rangers have tied it. Adrian Beltre's sacrifice fly brought home Shin-Soo Choo. Odor trying to untie it. Benoit ready. Strasburger on the move again. Got him swinging. Throw to second, not in time.
Well, you called it, Buzz. He had a good jump, good throw. They're going to, I think, make some kind of an issue whether the batter interfered with the throw. Didn't look like it. It's a pretty nice throw based on how he had to get it around the helmet of Rougned Odor. They just made a strong throw. All right, got the man out there now.
Now 2 outs now. Elvis to the plate. Elvis is 3 out of 5 in his career against Joaquin Benoit. 1 ball, no strikes.
Elvis is kind of glad to see Kennedy gone, and Rangers in general probably are. He fired the ball at the end of the game. He struck out 5 straight guys to finish out the 7th inning.
12 strikeouts overall. That's not a real comfortable night for a lot of hitters.
No. He pitched a nice ball game.
Elvis, a couple of strikeouts and a pop out. Got the go-ahead run out at second. Ryan Strasburger, the pinch runner. Behind Elvis, and it ricocheted right back to the mound off the backstop.
As a hitter, that's very disconcerting when the ball's behind you. Your normal reaction when the ball is at you is to dive backwards. But when the ball's behind you, it's a very, you can see Elvis is kind of moving back because that's your first reaction to get out of the way of the ball. Very seldom do you have to move forward to get out of the way of a ball.
Well, I marked down wild pitch. That may be an understatement.
That should count for 2 wild pitches.
It should. In case Elvis was having trouble with his heart, that got his heart started. I guarantee that. 2 balls, no strikes. Strasburger at third base. Benoit checking him. And the pitch. 3-0. Benoit really struggling now to find home plate. 3 balls, no strikes to Elvis. Joey Gallo, Ranger left fielder, waiting in the on-deck circle. Ball 4. Second walk of the inning. And Gallo being called back to the dugout. Mitch Moreland has a bat. He is coming up as a pinch hitter.
Mitch is going into the game anyway at first base. Prince was pinch ran for. And now you've got basically your best pinch hitter in a situation with a game on the line right here.
Well, Mitch, who is 0 for 2 in pinch hitting assignments in this series, but for the year he has been very, very good. He is 5 out of 9 as a pinch hitter. 285 overall. Cole Hamels, still the pitcher of record for the Rangers at the moment.
The way Benoit's throwing, you've got to be ready at third base for a wild pitch.
Yeah.
He's very liable to throw it by the catcher here.
First pitch to Moreland. Inside for ball 1.
Again, he's going to go out of his way not to throw a strike unless he has to.
Moreland, only 1 official at bat against Benoit, 0 for 1, but he's drawn 2 walks. He's got the go-ahead run at third. Ryan Strasburger. Over at first, Elvis Andrus. Rangers have had 2 hits, or 2 walks, a hit, a sacrifice fly in the inning to pull even. And they're looking to get out in front. Benoit with the 1-0 pitch. Strasburger came in as a pinch runner for Prince Fielder. Over at first base, Elvis Andrus. One and 2. Padres have a huge overshift on with only third baseman Corey Spangenberg near the line at third. They have 100 feet of area between fielders out there on the left side. Elvis on the move. The pitch in the dirt. Elvis would just stroll into second.
There's one of the balls we're talking about that might go by the catcher. Hedges knows that. He knows there's a man at third. He's got to do whatever he can to block it. The ball bounces right out in front of home plate. He does a perfect job of keeping the ball right in front of him.
So Elvis credited with a stolen base as he was going on the pitch. 2-2 to Mitch.
31 pitches coming up for Benoit right here.
Sets at the belt, a check of the runners. Got him swinging. Benoit gives up the tying run. The Rangers leave 2 aboard. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th, tied at 3.
San Diego, Rangers and Padres tied at 3 runs apiece. Rangers hoping for a climactic finish to this one, and then it's up the coast to Southern California, the southern Los Angeles area, Anaheim to be exact, where the Rangers will take on their rival, the Angels. It's Rougned Odor and his 3 homers and 9 RBI against the Angels this season against Mike Trout, who's not only good against the Rangers, but pretty much good against everybody. AT&T U-verse reminds you that it's not tomorrow. We've got a day off in Anaheim tomorrow. It is Friday night at 9 o'clock. Rangers Live gets you started at 8:30. Guys, back up to you.
All right, John, thank you. Now, Keone Kela, a 22-year-old right-hander, now on for his 60th appearance of the year. And so neither starting pitcher will have anything to do with the decision here tonight. Ian Kennedy and Cole Hamels will get no decisions as the Rangers and Padres in a 3-3 tie, bottom of the 8th inning. Matt Kemp to start things off against Kela. Be Kemp, Upton, and Wallace. And the first pitch high and tight to Kemp. Defensive changes. Mitch Moreland stays in the ball game, takes over at first base, and Ryan Strasburger, who came on as a pinch runner in the ball game now, is the left fielder. Kemp 0 for 2 tonight with a walk and a run scored. That's back and out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kela, last time we saw Keone was the 29th against Baltimore. Worked 2/3 of an inning in that ball game. Last 6 outings, he has given up a grand total of 2 base hits. He has just been lights out. Since coming back to the major leagues the second week of August, he has been lights out.
He can get you out in so many ways. You see a lot of young kids, 21, 22 years old, with upper 90s fastballs, and that's pretty much what they're featuring, trying to work on something to go along with it. He's got other pitches that he's had pretty much right from the start this year to go along with it, the hard breaking ball and the changeup. Since he's come back, it's been mostly fastball and the curveball. Haven't seen quite as many changeups, but he's got it there if he needs it.
1-2 pitch to Kemp. That breaking ball pulled foul.
It's a little too high.
Yeah, got away with one there that stayed up.
And the fact that he's throwing 97 miles an hour, the change of speeds with that curveball was what fooled him, got him out in front of it, but not the location. If he kept it down, he might have got a swing and a miss. And I think Keone's kind of talking to himself. He knows he hung that one and got away with it.
Either talking to himself or giving thanks for getting a ball back.
Yeah.
Kemp, along with the walk, is grounded into a double play and hit a soft line drive to second. And he reaches out and pops one shallow center. No liner to Shields. Kemp's underneath. 1 out. Folks, you can keep up with the pennant races in true HD quality on MLB.TV Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live on more than 400 supported devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and a lot more. Just visit MLB.TV today. A 1 out, Justin Upton now comes in. He's 2 for 3 tonight. Single and a double. He has scored a run. He's also struck out. 0-1. Chris Jimenez flashing the signs out. Keone has one. Missed low inside.
Tried it again. Threw it in the same spot. Swung at one. Wasn't going to do it twice, though.
Up to now, as you can see, a .254 average after the 2 hits tonight. Right behind the bag. Almost hit the bag, Beltre.
That's guarding the line right there.
That is guarding the line. 2 out. Now Brett Wallace will come up. Brett Wallace has a single in 3 trips to the plate. His single set up a first and third with 1 out in the 6th inning, and the Padres turned that into a run. That put them ahead briefly. Rangers came back to tie it up. And Kellis' first pitch high and tight for ball 1. Wallace, a .382 average. Yonder Alonso, the normal first baseman for the Padres, went out last night with some back spasms. They estimated that it would be 2 or 3 days. Craig Kimbrell, the closer for the Padres, loosening in that bullpen. A ball and a strike. Where was your power changeup? Missed outside, 2-1. Now Kellis set. Inside corner. 2-2. Odor rushes in to get a little rosin on his hand. Mentioned something to Kella. See the tape on that middle finger still, and Root getting a little rosin to make that have a little better feel to it. Breaking ball got him swinging. Kellett sends the Padres down in order. We have finished 8 here in San Diego. It's the Rangers 3 and the Padres 3 as Keone Kela punches out Brett Wallace. And Craig Kimbrell, for the second straight night, will come in for the Padres. We saw Kimbrell work an inning last night, had a couple of strikeouts. And tonight, he will face the bottom part of the order. Chris Jimenez, the scheduled hitter. He's called back, and Will Venable has come off the Ranger bench as a pinch hitter. Venable, long time San Diego Padre and a fan favorite here in San Diego. Off the bench to get a pinch hitting assignment against Kimbrell. And Kimbrell drops that breaking ball in for strike one. Kimbrell back to the plate. That darting breaking ball that he throws.
Well, we're talking about Keone having different ways to strike you out. Kimbrell does as well. His fastball got up to 99 miles an hour yesterday, and you see that extremely hard breaking ball that he's got to go along with it.
Chopper foul on the 98 mile an hour fastball. 1-2. Venable hitting at 240 as a Ranger. Hit 253 here, or 258, excuse me, this year with the Padres. Two balls, two strikes. Infield, a step around to the right for Venable. The outfield shading him slightly to hit the other way. Into and out of Hedges' glove. Still 2-2. Talking about Craig Kimbrell last night, the saves leader for the last 4 years. since 2011 he came into the league. He has 62 more saves than anybody else in baseball. That's out of play. Next closest to him, Jonathan Papelbon, has 159. Kimbrel, 221 career saves. Still 2-2 to Will Venable. That'll play to the left. Kimbrel this year, 36 saves and a 1-2 record. Opposition hitting a grand total of 153 against him.
And between Kimbrel and Benoit, they're hitting about 150 up against both of them, 8th and 9th inning guys. That's a pretty good setup man, pretty good closer. Comes into play a lot more, I guess, on a pennant contending team than a team near the bottom, but nevertheless, it's the kind of situation where if you're behind after 7 innings, you don't have much of a chance.
Kimbrel with a payoff pitch. Outside, ball 4. Venable draws a pinch hit walk to start off the 9th inning. And Josh Hamilton, as you saw, had grabbed a bat, and he is coming to the plate to hit in the pitcher spot.
That provoked some emotion on both sides of the aisle. A lot of Ranger fans here cheering and Padre fans doing the opposite.
Well, Hamilton off the bench, and this is the role that he's going to be in for the next couple of weeks anyway, as he works himself back to being able to get into full game action. That first pitch fouled straight back and out of play. For Josh, his first action since the middle of August. Went on the disabled list the 16th with that left knee inflammation. Prior to going on the DL, he was swinging the bat pretty well. He'd gone 9 for 27 in the 7 games prior to that. Oh, 0-1 as Kimbrel sets.
2 fastballs, 2 good swings. Right near the center of the plate. Fouled him straight back.
Hamilton 1 for 3 in his previous matchups with the right-hander. The 0-2 pitch. Josh with the average at 254 for the year.
Outfield's playing deep now. They don't want a ball to go over their heads to allow the man to score from first, but that opens a lot of territory up for a ball to fall in for a base hit. And as deep as they are, it'd be tough to keep Will Venable from going to third base on a base hit.
Josh, a couple of deep breaths, now back in the batter's box. 6 home runs, 21 driven in for Hamilton. Going inside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now Kimbrel, who got ahead of Will Venable, then lost him to a walk, has gone from 0-2 to 2-2 to Hamilton. Josh this year as a pinch hitter, 1 for 3. Remember that pinch hit game-winning double that he had at home. That ball almost away from Wallace and down the right field line. Another throw to first. Kimbrel making sure that Venable going to have a hard time getting a big jump to second if he decides to steal. Inside the appeal to third, no swing. Hamilton able to lay off that hard breaking ball.
Can't get him to chase the breaking ball. And Josh has had a couple of great swings at his fastball. Hands come forward, but the bat stays back.
Yep. So the count is full, and now very interesting. We'll see if Venable is given the green light on 3-2. Got Hamilton batting in the 9th spot as a pinch hitter. Delino to Shields, getting ready in that on-deck circle. Kimbrel ready. Venable staying put. Pitch is lined to right, a base hit. Going from second to third, now stopping. As Kemp got to the ball quickly is Venable. A base hit, though, a pinch hit single for Hamilton. The Rangers have runners at first and second and nobody out.
You know, right now, as great as Kimbrel is, he's probably a better matchup for Josh than a guy with a split finger pitch and more of a finesse pitcher, because it's power versus power, and you really can't throw a fastball hard enough that Josh would be intimidated by it. You can throw it 120 miles an hour, you could probably put the bat on it. And so he had a good at bat. He laid off every close breaking ball and had a good swing at every fastball.
And Josh Hamilton out for a pinch runner, and high fives from everybody. Hamilton, his first at bat in about 3 weeks, able to get that pinch hit single. And Drew Stubbs has come off the bench and taken over as the pinch runner at first. So you have Venable at second, Stubbs at first, nobody out. Delino to Shields up there, and both corners creeping in for the Padres. An obvious bunt situation. Brett Wallace, the first baseman, already 15 feet in front of the bag at first. And playing side saddle down there at third is Corey Spangenberg. Now here's Delino, who is 1 for 4 tonight. And again, if he drops a sacrifice, there's no sure thing that it's an automatic out. Bunts it foul, 0-1. Kimbrel, tough to hit, but also tough to bunt.
He is tough. It's tough to bunt a belt-high 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
I think it's harder to bunt that or the sharp breaking ball that he throws. Either one.
You might bunt and miss the breaking ball. At least you won't pop it up.
Yeah, that's true. Kimbrel ready. And another bunt foul.
The thing you have to do, you just can't bunt at that ball. You know, those two balls are up and out of the strike zone. You just have to let them go. Kimbrel's struggling a little bit with his command, and you take those two pitches, you're ahead in the count 2-0.
Well, we'll see now what Delino has with no balls and 2 strikes.
Take 2 and hit to right.
Yeah.
Wallace and Spangenberg.
Exactly. They still believe that there's a significant chance that he would be asked to bunt on 0-2. Little tap, that almost worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, Delino will come back and try another 0-2 pitch.
Well, Benoit threw, I guess, around 30 pitches. Kimbrel already thrown 18 pitches. He doesn't have an out yet.
The Rangers have made it tough on the tail end of this bullpen for San Diego tonight. A 3-3 ball game. Padres with 8 hits, the Rangers with 7. But the Rangers have the go-ahead run out at second base and nobody out. Kimbrel again sets. Another 0-2 pitch coming. Popped up. Infield fly rule if the ball is fair. And it is. That's out number 1.
It's a big out for the Padres. 2 men on, nobody out, and they stay right there.
Now Shin-Soo Choo with runners at first and second. Of all the Ranger hitters, Choo has had more success against Kimbrel than any other Ranger. He is 2 for 5. One of those 2 hits left the ballpark. So if you believe in confidence dictating how well you will do, Choo's got a little confidence going. Venable at second. Stubbs at first. Kimbrel set to work. Kind of a late timeout call by Trip Gibson, the home plate umpire. You heard him. Our field mic calling timeout. Then he walked away from behind home plate before Kimbrel was in his motion. First pitch coming to Choo. A strike on the swing.
Yep, looked like he was going to be able to stop it, but the head of the bat just came flying through right at the end.
Choo 0 for 2, but he has walked each of his last 2 times to the plate. Walked leading off the 8th inning and scored the tying run. Now trying to put the Rangers ahead here in the 9th. 1 ball and 1 strike. Choo's average with runners in scoring position on the uptick. He's got the go-ahead run at second. Will Venable out there. Drew Stubbs trailing him at first. Outfield shading Choo slightly the other way. The infield a couple of steps to the right. 2 balls and a strike. Other than the walks, Choo has grounded out twice. Our Fox tracker showing you those pitches down out of the strike zone. The 2-1 pitch. All 3. Now, Kimbrel, uncharacteristically wild. Not completely erratic, but enough that Ranger hitters have not been tempted. 3-1 the count. Choo waiting. Out of play. And the count goes full.
98 miles an hour from Kimbrel.
Ryan Strasburger, who came on as a pinch runner for Prince Fielder in the 8th inning. In the on-deck circle now. 3-2 to Choo. 1 out, 2 on. Outside, ball 4, and that loads the bases. 2 walks and a hit in the inning. Strasburger called back to the plate. And it's going to be Mike Napoli grabbing a bat and a helmet coming into the on-deck circle.
We're going through some players in these last 2 innings, boy. The wheels are turning.
Well, Mike Napoli Coming off the Ranger bench. Rangers had only one left-handed hitter available other than, well, the guys they've already used, Carlos Corporán. Not sure Carlos is really ready to take that hand into game action and pinch hit. But Napoli asked here to somehow get that runner home from third with just one out. Napoli up there with Venable at third, Stubbs at second, and Chu at first. Napa .213 average. A strike on the outer corner. As a Ranger this year, Napoli at .296. 2 home runs, 3 RBI. Still looking for his first pinch hit as a Ranger. He is 0 for 7 and 1 for 8 this year. One ball and one strike.
And the other reason you like Napoli up right here is Nap has a good eye. He generally doesn't expand the strike zone. And Kimbrel really has been close to walking every guy.
Yeah.
He got to Shields, but the first 2 pitches that Delano bunted at were out of the strike zone. It's 3-2 to Hamilton, and he has walked 2 guys.
One ball, one strike. And Napoli takes the breaking ball for strike 2. Career with the bases loaded for Mike Napoli, a .287 average. Kimbrel staring in for the sign. Almost threw that to the backstop.
Hedges, that's as high as he can go to get that pitch. And the other thing is it's going 98 miles an hour, so you don't have time to get up there. That easily could have gone off the top of his glove. And if it touches his glove, then it's going to stay back there because it won't be going that fast when it gets to the back.
Being off balance as he caught that, that almost took him back to the backstop.
That was a save right there.
Sure was. 2-2 to Napoli. Pop foul, that will reach the seats. We'll try it again.
Well, Kimbrel's thrown 30 pitches here in the 9th inning. And he's only got 1 out. I got a feeling if he gives up a run, he's out of there. Not sure how many pitches he threw last night, but that'd be 15 anyway. Matt battling, choking up, trying to make some contact right here. Bearing down.
Bases full of Rangers with 1 out. A 3-3 ball game in the 9th. Kimbrel sets again. Ball 3. Now, the only pitch that Kimbrel's been able to get over has been the breaking ball.
The breaking ball, yeah. Fastballs all over the place.
Napoli hitting in the number 3 slot. Adrian Beltre will follow Napoli. Venable, Stubbs, and Chu, third, second, and first. The payoff pitch on the way. Ball, strike 3.
Throws a pitch. You can see those 3 pitches. They're about, one's a foot high, one's a foot outside, and one's a foot low. And then he paints the outside corner with a 3-2 pitch. There's not much you can do about that. Made a perfect pitch out of nowhere.
So 2 outs. Here's Beltre. Adrian has driven in a couple of runs tonight. A double in the first, plated 1. He had a sacrifice fly in the 8th. Kimbrel's first pitch to him. Ball 1. Beltre against Kimbrel, 1 for 1 with a single. Beltre, 9 career grand slams, 408 career home runs, 51st all time on that list. Hedges flashing the signs out. Kimbrel ready. Now back. A ball and a strike. Adrian with 47 RBI this season. Will Venable, the runner at third. The go-ahead run. Drew Stubbs at second. Shin-Soo Choo at first. Craig Kimbrel back to the plate. 2-1.
It's got to be one of Kimbrel's toughest outings he's ever had. I don't know how many times he's thrown 36 pitches in one inning.
He's trying to figure out what in the world he's going to do with each pitch. It's a surprise to him. Almost.
Throw a hard name for the middle of the plate and see what happens. Ooh, boy.
What he did, too, and Adrian had a hack at it.
He threw it for the middle of the plate and got the middle of the plate that time.
2-2. Just under 17,000 on hand here at Petco Park tonight, and they are making some noise. 2-2, 2 outs, bases full in the top of the 9th inning. Kimbrel to Beltre. Got him swinging. Well, the Rangers load him up. Kimbrel, though, able to work around the 2 walks and a single. Rangers leave the bases full. We're going to the bottom of the 9th. Rangers 3, Padres 3. Airlines. Book your low fare now at Southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealer. Best deals are happening now only at your Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. The Rangers made it interesting. The bases loaded with 1 out and couldn't score against Craig Kimbrel. And now we go to the bottom of the 9th inning, deadlocked at 3. Sam Dyson is on for his second consecutive night. So Dyson who will now hit in the third position in the batting order. He'll be working to Bobby Wilson, new catcher on for the Rangers. Wilson will be in the 8th spot. And Drew Stubbs, who came on as a pinch runner, stays in the ballgame, takes over in left field. And Dyson going to work to Clint Barmas, who throws strike one. There's Bobby Wilson. Barmas has driven in all 3 Padre runs tonight. He has had a 2-run double and reached on a fielder's choice that plated the 3rd run in the 6th inning. Dyson with the 0-2. Got him swinging. Well, Sam going to that power sinker, and he just blew Barmas away.
That ball dropped right at the end. No chance on that one.
Oh, 1 out. Here's Austin Hedges, the catcher. Hedges 0 for 3 tonight. Couple of flies to left and a ground ball to short. Ball 1. The Rangers 3 runs on 7 hits. They have stranded 10 tonight. Padres 3 runs on 8 hits. They have left 5 aboard. One ball and 1 strike. Sam Dyson makes pitching very simple, very elemental, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's nice when you've got a 96 to 8 mile an hour ball that sinks like that. You don't really have to do too much except throw it around the knees every pitch.
Chopper foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And when he gets it down there and guys make contact, it does sound like hitting a shot put. The bat recoils almost. Sam, the 27-year-old out of Tampa, Florida. The Jesuit high school down there. 1-2 pitch. Beltre cuts it off. Fires the ball. 2 gone. Now Melvin Upton coming up. Upton started off the 7th inning in a pinch hitting role. Single to center field. Got as far as second base, and that was it. .238 season average. 5 home runs, 15 RBI. Dyson, his 17th appearance. That 1-1 record at .216 ERA in a Ranger uniform. Issued just 1 walk in his 16 2/3 innings. One and 2.
Just looks like he's playing catch.
Yeah.
Looks like he's warming up between innings.
A set and back to Upton. Two balls and two strikes. Bobby Wilson setting that target down and away. Right there. Couple of strikeouts in the inning. Melvin Upton's going to argue a little bit with Trip Gibson. We're going to go to extra baseball tonight. On to the 10th inning. Rangers 3 and the Padres 3. All season long. Jack Link's beef jerky, feed your wild side. Petco Park, a little bonus baseball tonight for you. Rangers and the Padres tied at 3. Bud Norris has come out of the Padre bullpen now to take over here in the 10th inning. Norris appearing in his 11th ball game. Worked 7 1/3 innings and league hitting 250 against him. Rangers in extra innings affair this year are 4-4. They are 2-1 on the road.
Yeah, Bud Norris pitched in the first game of the series and was throwing the ball great. His fastball was 95, 96 miles an hour. Looked better coming out of the bullpen than he has at times as a starter.
Padres this year are 7-4 in extra inning games, but they are 0-3 at Petco Park. Rougned Odor starting things off. Rougned had 1 for 4 tonight with a double. Odor's double came back in the 4th inning. Norris missing down and in. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ian Kennedy worked the first 7 innings for the Padres. Struck out a career high tying 12 hitters. Joaquin Benoit and Craig Kimbrell both struggled in their innings. Benoit, the blown save, gave up the tying run. He had a couple of strikeouts. Kimbrell had a couple of strikeouts. So the Rangers with 16 strikeouts tonight. Still an opportunity to win this ball game. 1-2 to Odor. Odor against Bud Norris, 2 for 5. He's got a little bit of a history, a confidence builder. 2-2. outfield, playing Rudnett a step or two around to the left. The infield a step or two the other way. And Rudnett chops it foul. Good look at the defense from overhead. Second baseman Jerko trying to cut that hole down as much as he can on the right side. Norris with another 2-2 pitch. Right at Jerko. That's where he stood. One gone. Now Norris will face Elvis Andrus. Elvis has a walk in 4 official trips, or 4 trips, I should say. Officially 0 for 3. Elvis still looking for his first hit in his career against Bud Norris. 0 for 6.
Well, one thing is going to be convenient is the off day tomorrow. Rangers have used a lot of players. They've used a lot of pitchers.
Yep.
The Padres have used their 2 best relievers, Benoit and Kimbrel, and together they threw about 65 pitches.
Yeah, I wouldn't think Kimbrel has had many outings like that.
I wouldn't think so.
That was odd.
You know, he came close to walking 4 guys in that inning.
2-0 to Elvis. And Norris able to drop a breaking ball in. 2-1. The Rangers trying to get a W to pick up another game on Houston. If they can get a win here tonight, they'd pull within 2 games of the Astros. Seattle down Houston tonight by an 8-3 count.
And Minnesota won, so the Rangers need to win to stay 1 game ahead of Minnesota in the wild card race. If the Rangers don't win this game, they would be tied for that second wild card. And as we've said, they've got their sights set on Houston.
Yep.
So they want to win to get 2 games away from the Astros.
Elvis a base hit to left.
There's turning around that fastball.
Got that pitch up and banged it right through the hole on the left side. A 1-out single. The Rangers have the go-ahead run at first. And Mitch Moreland coming up. Conference on the mound and talking about what they want to do with Mitch. Mitch had only had pinch hitting appearances, including his first at bat here tonight in this series. Prince Fielder started all 3 games at first base. So Mitch relegated to pinch hitting roles. Struck out in his pinch hitting assignment here tonight in the 8th inning. And now, after taking over at first base, up there with the go-ahead run at first, the person of Elvis Andrus. Mitch is 3 out of 7 in his career against Bud Norris. Norris with a good quick move to first, and Elvis having to dive back ahead of the tag by Wallace. Was gingerly stepping off that lead at first. Oh, 0-1.
There's been some heat coming out of the bullpen. Benoit's fastball is 95. Kimbrel with 98. Norris is 95. Kella 97. Dyson 96, 97. Not many guys coming in throwing 88 anymore.
No, it's not happening. Not happening.
When you're a hitter, it doesn't matter who's coming in after the 6th inning. You better tune it up because they're going to be throwing hard for the most part. And if they're not, they've got some pitch that'll trick you.
Yep. Mitch drives one to right.
That's what
that
we're
is headed to
talking
the
about.
corner.
Stay in the corner.
Turn to the
Stay in
jet
the
zone.
corner.
He is being waved around third. He will score. Moreland puts the Rangers on top 4-3 with an RBI double.
Well, the Rangers the last couple of innings have just needed a walk, a hit, anything. They've had so many men on base. This inning, they get a man on first, and Mitch takes care of it. Hit that ball down in the corner. You're just hoping the ball stays in the corner and doesn't carry him back to Kemp. And that's exactly what happened. That ball's out over the plate. Mitch puts a great swing on it, drills it down the line. If it hits the yellow part, it probably caroms back, but it stays in the corner. Kemp has to go all the way into the corner and doesn't have time to keep Elvis from scoring.
Well, Mitch Moreland driving home the run. He's out at second now. And the pitch fouled back by Bobby Wilson. Elvis scoring all the way from first base, getting high fives from that Ranger dugout. Moreland, a huge RBI double. The 10th inning here in San Diego. There's still just one out. Bobby Wilson, his first at bat of the night, hitting at .255.
And Bobby had put a tough at bat on you with a man in scoring position too.
Yep.
I loved his answer to Emily the other day when they said he walked him. Says, "Yeah, I took it personal. Not going to let anybody show me up."
That's right.
He doubled for the winning run.
One. 1-2. You look ahead to the bottom of the 10th inning. It'll be the pitcher spot in the top of the order for San Diego.
It looks like Jake Diekman is throwing in the Ranger bullpen.
One hopper down to Spangenberg at third.
Tried to throw it away.
2 gone.
Unless Sean has already thrown, he must not be available tonight.
I remember Collison last night gave up a couple runs, had a lot of pitches, almost 30 pitches.
Yeah, he had the same kind of outing that Benoit and Kimbrough had. But Dyson had a fairly quick 8th inning, so I would think Dyson would be available, and so would Jake. We'll see how they want to go. In the meantime, it'd be nice to pick up another run right here.
It would be, and we'll see if Drew Stubbs can do that. Longhorn X up there in a situation where it's a big run out there at second base. Mitch Moreland has already given the Rangers a 4-3 lead, but they'd love to have one more. Stubbs 0 for 1 in his Ranger debut last night. Came on late in the ball game.
When Sam came over to the Rangers, there were a couple of times where Sean wasn't available. He's got a couple of saves. So he's been out there in the save situation before.
Well, right now, he's the pitcher of record. He could be the winner.
That's right. That's right. I'd give him a win and a save.
Win and a save. There
you
you go.
Get the win this inning, go back and save it the next inning.
0-2 to Stubbs. In the dirt. Mitch Moreland had a good jump. He got about a third of the way to third base. No, I better stay here. Watch Mitch. Yeah, I'm going to go. Oh, no.
No, don't chance it. 2 outs. Wait for the base hit.
Get all carried away after the RBI double. 1-2 to Stubbs. Stubbs a pretty good history against Bud Norris. Behind the bag at third. Long throw, not in time. Stubbs.
He can run, boy.
Able to wipe that out.
That was a strong throw by Spangenberg. But that's one of the reasons Rangers like Drew Stubbs for September is he can really run. a good defensive outfielder. It might be a game where he pinch runs. I'm going to look at it, see if he beat it out or not. We'll find out.
Well, the challenge to the call on the field was safe by first base umpire Gabe Morales. Mark Carlson, the crew chief, and Morales will get the headsets on, hooked up to Replay Command Center back in New York. See what the judgment of the official in New York is. They're showing it on the giant screen here at Petco Park. And crowd mixed reviews of what they're seeing. And the angle they just showed with the blow up of the ball being in the back of the glove and the foot not quite there, he is out. Yeah. Well, out at first, and that will do it. But the Rangers have taken the lead. Mitch Moreland's RBI double. Plates Elvis Andrus. It's 4-3 Rangers. We go to the bottom of the 10th inning. Taking a 4-3 lead now. We go to the bottom of the 10th inning. And Sam Dyson is staying out there. He will at least start the bottom of the 10th inning. Going to have a pinch hitter. Looks like Yanhervis Solarte has grabbed a bat and will bat for the pitcher spot. Then it'll be back to the top of the order, Corey Spangenberg and Jed Durko. Well, Solarte, who had played third in the first two games of this series, coming off the bench now, a .261 hitter, 11 home runs, 53 RBI for the former Ranger. Switch hitter will bat from the left side against the right-hander Dyson. 4 for 18 this year for Solarte as a pinch hitter. And Sam misses low with that sinker for ball one. Solarte in this series 3 for 9. That's inside. 2 balls and no strikes. And Erbis last night 2 out of 5 scored a couple of runs in that 8-6 Ranger win. Ball 3. Well, Solarte bidding to get on base with a tying run here in the bottom of the 10th inning. Corey Spangenberg, the leadoff man, will follow. That is in at the knees. 3-1. Dyson with the next pitch. popped up. Beltre over to take a look, but that's back several rows. And the count has run full. Solarte better from the left side this year, a .269 hitter. As a right-handed hitter, just .233. Dyson with a 3-2 pitch. Lost him. A leadoff walk puts the tying run aboard with nobody out. Corey Spangenberg coming up now as Jeff Bannister paces momentarily, then sits down.
Nothing easy about this game. The Rangers have had to come from behind a couple of times. They've had some opportunities they haven't cashed in on. They scored now. 1-run lead, trying to hold on to it here in the 10th inning.
Spangenberg 1 for 4 had a 5th inning single. Takes outside, ball 1. Adrian Beltre coming down the line from third. The old baseball adage, you play the tie at home and win on the road. And it's like Pat Murphy, the Padres skipper, adhering to that, asking for the sacrifice from Spangenberg. And ball 2 is high and away.
Well, Sam was pounding the strike zone in the 9th inning. It might be a little bit different pitching the 10th with a 1-run lead, I guess. All you got to do is trust that sinker, throw it around the knees and let it sink and let it do its job. Everything's up to Spangenberg. Thank you.
Bunted that foul, and it's 2-1. It looked like it might have been ball 3. Spangenberg checking with Glenn Hoffman down there at third.
And movement might have taken that out of the strike zone. Might have enticed Spangenberg to bunt. Looked like it was going to be a strike.
A 2-1 the count. Beltre again at third, in front of the cut of the grass. Solarte with pretty good speed at first. Spangenberg around to bunt and gets it down the first baseline. Moreland to Odor covering. The sacrifice goes 3-4. Solarte at second now with 1 away, and Jed Jerko coming up.
Very nice bunt. Spangenberg can get down the line too. Mitch took a look at second and got it to first just in time. Spangenberg flying down the first baseline. That gets you back in the strike zone. That gets you an out. Now you got a couple of hitters that are swinging the bat really well. Jerko, a couple of hits tonight. Kemp, big night last night.
Jerko, a pair of singles, 2 for 4. On the outside corner for strike 1. .259 hitter with runners in scoring position. Solarte at second, dancing around out there. And a chopper to short. They've got Solarte hung up, and he will be tagged out by Odor. Solarte had a brain cramp, and the Rangers made him pay for it.
That is relatively big. Elvis is getting ready to throw it to first in his mind, and he goes, whoa, cannot turn down this opportunity.
Wow. Very charitable base running mistake by Yangervis Solarte.
He just got a little bit over anxious. I don't know where he thought that ball was going to go that was going to allow him to get to third base.
Oh, a huge second out. Now the tying run is all the way over to first. Jerko at first. And Matt Kemp, who is 0 for 3, comes to the plate and takes strike 1.
Ball all the way in the strike zone.
Kemp reached base in the 4th inning on a walk, came around to score. Other than that, is popped out, flied out, and grounded into a double play. Majors swung around to the left on the infield. Out of play. 0-2. And Ranger fans hooping and hollering down the left field side. They are on their feet. They're backing up Sam Dyson. Right-hander's ready. The 0-2 pitch. Up the middle, off Dyson, it caroms to Elvis. He goes to Odor, the force, and that is a winner.
How about those last 2 outs? Oh, man, you got to get a little good fortune along the way. And
a 1-6-4 put out at second base, and the Rangers win it in 10 innings here tonight. And they win 2 out of 3 from the Padres in the most improbable way to finish a ball game that you can think of. How about that?
Looked like it was headed up the middle for a base hit, maybe first and third. Then you're going to have to pitch to Justin Upton. Instead, it came right to Elvis, and they end it. Let's see.